They called it Udo, the village of peace. But peace had never really lived there. Only silence. And whispers. And the land that bled. Every year, on the first rain of the planting season, the ground behind the old shrine would bleed. Dark, thick blood, rising slowly from the earth, soaking the soil as if the land itself had been wounded. The elders would say it was a mystery. A sign from the gods. Respect the land. Do not ask questions, they warned. And so, no one asked. People saw. But they looked away. They heard. But they stayed silent. Even the wind seemed afraid to speak of it. But one small boy did not look away. His name was Obi. Obi was 12. He wasn't the loudest. Or the strongest. But he saw things. He listened. He wondered. He had heard the stories. At night, when the fire burned low, and the elders thought he was asleep, they would talk. Stories of a curse. Of a war. Of a secret buried long ago. They would hush when they saw his eyes still open. But Obi had already heard enough. And on the day the rain came, his life, no, the village's life, would change forever. It began like any other day. Obi had gone to fetch water from the stream. The sky was quiet, heavy with grey clouds. And then, just as he reached the hill by the shrine, the rain began to fall. Soft, at first. Then stronger. The kind of rain that drums the earth and sings to the trees. And then he saw it. The ground behind the shrine was trembling. Not a lot. But just enough to catch his eye. And then, the blood came. Thick. Red. Rising from the ground like water from a spring. Obi dropped his pot. He walked closer. His heart was beating fast, but he did not run. Something inside him said, "Look. Do not turn away." And so, he dug. With his bare hands, he pushed the wet soil aside. It was soft. Almost like the land wanted him to find it. He dug until his fingers touched something hard. Wood. Old. Cracked. A box, buried deep in the ground. He pulled it open. And then he saw them. Bones. Small. Not animal bones. Not adult bones. Children. Obi could not move. He stared at the box, the bones, the blood-soaked earth. The rain fell harder, washing the mud from the skulls. He screamed. But the thunder swallowed his voice. The next morning, Obi returned. This time, with the village chief, some elders, and a few brave men. He led them to the shrine. To the bleeding land. To the open box. No one spoke. The chief looked at the bones and fell to his knees. An elder began to weep. Another dropped his staff. Then the truth came. Long ago, before Udo was called Udo, the land was not peaceful. It was a place of war. A warlord named Okafor had led a battle to take the land. He burned homes. He killed men. He took the women captive. But it was what he did next that brought the curse. He gathered the children of the land, innocent children, and buried them alive behind the shrine. He believed that if their cries were buried, the people would never rise again. The land cried every year because the children never found peace. The blood was not a warning. It was a memory. A pain the land could not forget. And so, for generations, the village lived on stolen soil. Built houses over sorrow. Danced over grief. Prayed on bleeding ground. But Obi uncovered what no one had dared to face. And the land answered. That evening, the villagers gathered. Not for celebration. But for mourning. They held a ceremony. Not to sacrifice. But to remember. They washed the bones gently. Clothed them in fine white cloth. Gave them names. sang songs, told stories, and for the first time, cried the tears that should have been cried long ago. The ground, once soaked in blood, was now covered in flowers. From that day, the land never bled again. No one could explain it. But everyone knew. The children had finally been heard. Obi, the quiet boy, became the voice for the forgotten. The one who listened when others turned away. The one who dared to ask. And Udo. It finally became what its name had promised. A village of peace. Real peace. Peace not built on silence, but on truth. And whenever it rained after that, the villagers no longer hid. They walked to the shrine, held hands, and whispered thank you. Not to the gods, but to the children, to the land, and to Obi. For showing them that sometimes, the smallest voice can awaken the loudest truth.